So it's just a matter of being able to process those notes and then write them on sheet music.
For those who may not know, who may stumble across the video, what is transcription for steel band?
There are two types of transcriptions that I've done. So I've used audio files and I will use my ears to notate music. And I've also used sheet music and use that sheet music and also listening to the original and transcribe by notating. So a lot of transcription that I've done from Trinidad and Tobago, audio and video files were sent to me. So basically, you just take a piece, you listen and notate. So, say steel bands in different parts of the world can play a tune that was performed by, say, All Stars or Desperados Phase 2.
What genres do you transcribe? And do you have a favorite?
I always love transcribing calypso because I didn't grow up, in Trinidad and Tobago. So calypso is something that used to be foreign to me. And thanks to the late Dr. Clifford Alexis, who was the co-director of the NIU Steel Band, who passed away in 2019, and he was also a partner of mine. He was arranging a lot of music for the NIU Steel Band, and he had students come and transcribe for him. So that is when I first started learning so much about calypso, how lots of melody lines work, say syncopation. Syncopations were something that I wasn't that familiar with, but because of Cliff and learning more about calypso, I became more familiar. Different strum patterns where I also learned as well. So even though I am not from Trinidad and Tobago, I am able to arrange calypso in my own way. And because of my background, it's, mixed with like my Japanese background and probably classical background. So it may not sound as authentic, but I do have more knowledge on calypso and style. And I just love calypso, like playing in a steel band, playing calypso in a steel band. So calypso definitely is my most favorite. But it's also fun to transcribe pieces that were from different parts of Western countries, European countries, United States. I really like romantic period. So Oh, great. Yeah, so I've transcribed some pieces by Chopin, and I also like contemporary pieces. So I've transcribed, say, Bela Bartok. Last year, a group of steel pan majors played a transcription of mine by Astor Piazzolla from Argentina. And yeah, they did a phenomenal job performing. So calypso is my most favorite, but yeah, I enjoy all sorts of music. So yeah. It's all fun.
And how important would you rank music literacy as a transcriber?
So if you are going to be teaching by rote, then music literacy won't be important as long as you're able to identify the music and be able to tell your players, show your players what they're supposed to play, then you don't need to be able to write and notate music. However, I believe in this day and age, it's a great skill to have if you're a musician. And if you're going to be transcribing and creating sheet music, then you absolutely need to know how to notate music. And in addition to being able to notate, you want to be able to notate in a standard format. So say you should be able to notate it in the right key, using the right key signature, using the correct and harmonic spelling. And also, there are so many ways to write different rhythms, but you want to be able to write in a way that is more standard so performers can read the music easily and not having to decode and try to figure out like a puzzle.
What is your process of transcribing?
Okay, so for music from Trinidad and Tobago, my process, is it depends. So if an arranger or a band is able to give me separate tracks, so there's a tenor part recorded separately, then I'll just go from tenor And what I like to do is I'll do tenor first, so like I can hear the melody line. Then I will do bass, so I have the top and bottom, so solid foundation. Then I'll fill in the middle. But in the past, I've gotten lots of recordings where each part wasn't recorded separately. Then that becomes quite challenging because unfortunately, you have to do some guesswork. Because, say, if I'm transcribing an orchestral piece, you can hear trumpets, which sounds different from flutes or strings. But in a steel band setting, all pans, pans sound pans, so tenors are easily identified. Basses, depending on the quality of instruments and the quality of recording, I do pretty well. But say, like, can I identify this strum? Like, are double seconds playing or are guitars playing this drum pattern? I don't know a lot of times, unless there's a video. A lot of times I've gone to YouTube and, hoping for the camera person to be showing double seconds so I can at least, see if they're going, or like, any other kind of rhythmic patterns. But yeah, I have to do some guesswork, which I do not like to do. So if audio parts are recorded separately for each instrument, that's most ideal. And the process for me to transcribing, say, an orchestral piece that a score already exists, the first thing I do is to, for Panorama Tunes as well, but I listen to the original, so I get the better understanding of what the whole piece is about, what important parts are and whatnot. And then I mentally figure out which part in the steel band that I want to assign those parts to. Most of the times I start with the main melody. So it may be in tenor, it could be in cello, or sometimes, basses may have it, but I'll notate those first and then kind of fill in the blank. So that's my process.
Is there a legal process attached to transcribing music for steel band?
Sure, but thankfully I never had to deal with it because I've been hired to transcribe. So whoever hired me had to deal with that, which was,
Okay.
nice, because I know it's so complex. If I'm transcribing an orchestral piece that's from like 100, 200 years ago, then because those pieces are in public domain, so we don't have to worry about copyright. But say, transcribing a Panorama tune from a year or two, well, not a year ago, because it didn't happen in 2020. Well, yeah, it did happen in, no, I meant this year, I guess, 2021, right. Then, of course, you have to deal with cut and, this and that, but thankfully I don't have to worry about it. But I know that Pennotation will be launching soon. So I know they have been working diligently with a lawyer. Start with something simple. Don't just, start with a panorama tune or a big orchestral piece. Something simple and get accustomed to the process of transcribing. I felt like I've gotten to know a lot of arrangers because I transcribed their music. I've transcribed a lot of music by Professor, so I feel like I understand his musical language more in depth than, say, other arrangers. And of course, Cliff Alexis as well, because I transcribed so many pieces of his. And while Cliff was in the hospital, and I was in the hospital for many, many hours every single day, I decided to transcribe a solo by Bugsy. And when I did that, I just realized so much more of the genius, that he is. And I have even more appreciation for him as a musician because of what I was able to find out by notating every single note that he was playing
Hmm.
and being able to execute. I've given the music to some people and they looked at it and they're like, nah. So, that just tells you so much about Booksy. But yeah, so I feel like by transcribing, you get to know certain things that you may have not known about that person musically, and it's quite interesting.